What's the most tech-illiterate thing you've seen a person do? My professor wants to take a photo with an iPad instead of a phone so that it would look larger when uploaded. That's not how that works. Plus, tablets have awful cameras. There are a few people here at work who will take a picture at the job site, print the picture, scan the picture to their email from the copier, and then forward the email to the recipient. My mom is kinda like this. She will copy a URL from her laptop to a piece of paper and bring it to me in the next room. Monsieur. Ah, that's kinda cute though. Wasting an entire tech budget on peripherals with no computers to attach them to. A school I worked at spent more on nice monitor mounting brackets than they did on the computers. I thought that was stupid at the time, but they have survived several generations of computers and are still very useful since it's at an elementary school, and there's a huge difference in position needed for first graders versus fifth graders. Old lady asking someone to withdraw money at the ATM and giving strangers the PIN for her card because she didn't know how to do it. She does this regularly. There's a ridiculous amount of people who will just yell their PIN to me in the drive-thru to withdraw money because they don't want to fill out a withdraw slip or use the ATM. Monsieur, same goes for their SS number. Just a PSA. Bank tellers don't want to know your PIN or have you yell your personal info to them. Monsieur, just fill out your slips and stop bitching about giving them your driver's license. Edit. Holy crap, this really blew up. Thank you for the award and thank you for all your stories. Nobody is perfect. Tellers are customers. But the people who work at the bank don't own it and don't make the rules. They're just trying to keep your information safe, keep their jobs, and help you navigate the processes that have been established. The bank employees you're dealing with aren't the ones with any power. But if you can muster up some patience, they will do everything they can to help. And that includes bugging their bosses to make an exception if possible and call you back with information. My mom makes a new folder every time she uploads a new picture. She has like 600 folder with 1 or 2 pictures each. She doesn't see the problem. She's just doing that to hide her hentai collection from you. I'm in a high school engineering course, and we were doing 3D modeling on laptops. This one girl who was clearly just there to fulfill graduation requirements used the trackpad every day for over a week. And if you've ever tried 3D modeling with a trackpad, then you know it just doesn't work. Eventually, I asked her why and she responded, "My mouse doesn't fit," and proceeded to prove to me that her mouse USB, in fact, does not fit into the SD card slot. It still amazes me that a 16-year-old kid who has grown up in the 21st century does not know how to plug in a computer mouse. This is actually good for people like me though. It lets me know that I'll still have a job in 30 years, since even with tech everywhere, people are still dumb and will rely on me to fix their messes because they don't want to learn super basic stuff. Apparently a lot of kids are not very computer literate because they use mostly phones, tablets. My dad, who is 95 and completely computer illiterate, knows that you can look up anything on a computer but doesn't know the right words. He was talking about an old boxer the other day. I think it was Jack Dempsey. He stated some stats of his career, and when I expressed surprise he said, "Go look it up on your eBay. They'll tell you I'm right." Quote, "My grandpa died about 2 years ago, and I think his favorite aspect of the internet was that it would confirm he was right about baseball arguments, especially anything involving the Yankees." The street he lived on was almost entirely retired people, but a surprising number of them owned smartphones, and most could use a computer fairly well. Several times growing up I saw him get in an argument with one of his similarly crotchety friends about some random-ass baseball trivia, and he would always confidently tell them to "Go look it up on your goddamn internet. I'll wait." Without fail, he was correct. I work in web dev, which includes some occasional photo manipulation. One client brought in an old photo of her great-grandfather with his back to the camera. She wanted me to turn him around in Photoshop so she could see his face. Another client got absolutely livid with me that I couldn't take the hyperlinked words from her webpage, port them over to her print ad, and still have them function like a link. All you have to do is figure out how to make the link work on a printed ad and you're the next trillionaire. Or I guess just hand out iPads as her business card. I mean, QR codes are basically printed links. Using a mouse upside down was pretty funny to see. This was a while ago. How do they use it upside down? Like if the cord was facing you instead of the weight with the buttons under your palm. I was picturing them scraping it around with a flat side up. My Nana once asked my granddad to turn her laptop on for when she got home. He ended up ringing her because he couldn't find the button to turn it on. So she was getting annoyed, saying it's right there in the top right corner. After a minute or two of utter confusion, she stopped, laughed, and asked if he'd opened the lid of the laptop. He asked, "What lid?" Now that is adorable. I work in a cell phone store. I have had on more than one occasion customers get mad at me that I can't access other people's text messages. I had that happen all the time. The worst was a lady that paid her boyfriend's bill and wanted to see his texts but wasn't on his account anyways. This girl I know took off the W key on her keyboard and switched it with her key and was super confused when the key binds weren't switched. Why would you even want to swap the places of the A and W keys? The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. Ask client to restart her computer and she proceeds to unplug it. That's one way of doing it. Trading computer monitors with someone so they could see how their desktop was set up. Bruh, how did you find out they were doing that? Probably post-it stuck to the monitor gave it away. How could Roger's email password be Adam123? He's got the hots for Adam, duh. Supervisor. Well, we could ask IT. But there's nothing they could really do about it, because she couldn't identify the issue with my computer. IT wouldn't be able to fix it or help at all. To be fair, this is sometimes true. For some problems IT is useless, either because they don't have access or just don't have the knowledge. I end up just hopping to the server and doing things myself 99% of the time. We all dread talking to IT. Context: I'm in the R&D software eng department and our IT is contracted out to another continent. Type Google in a Google search engine search box. Sometimes I do that so I can see Google's logo of the day when it's a special day. I always think of how I'm now in the stats of the percent of idiots that Google. I watched a professor type www.google.com into Chrome. It was amazing. A guy my husband was friends with back in the day asked for help with a computer virus he had. When we showed up, he had unplugged the computer and everything else in the room. Monsieur, we asked why. He said, "I didn't want the virus to spread." He was serious. My economics teacher didn't know how to full screen a YouTube video. He was like in his early 20s. That's weird considering how young he is. He was just so unqualified for the job. His father was the teacher for that class before him and it's so obvious he was only hired for that reason. He was such an idiot. Oof. Nepotism sucks. Did he work the whole school year, or was he replaced? He worked the whole year but that class was only one semester. I don't know if he still works there or not because that was my senior year of high school. My brother had a Zoom wedding 2 months ago. Several relatives in their 60s were taking pictures of the screens. That's kind of sweet. It sounds sweet until you end up being the one person at the last functioning photo lab having to explain why the printed pictures suck. My girlfriend's grandma thought that people's profile pictures were pictures that they sent to her. My grandma double-clicks on everything. To be fair, we used to have to double-click on everything. It infuriates me when I see someone being way too specific with their Google searches and then complain when they can't find anything. What is the best way for someone to remove a stain from their bed sheets but keep the quality of the fabric the same and not ruin the sheet and not have to buy new sheets? Quote, harmless stain removal for sheets. That's just someone who doesn't know how to articulate and form proper sentences. My mom will print out funny memes that she sees on Facebook and she keeps them in a folder in her filing cabinet. She'll have the last laugh when the apocalypse comes and you're scouring the barren, internetless landscape for memes. She literally has a meme folder. What a revolutionary. A woman in her 30s. Emo too young to be this technically illiterate given this was in 2017. Was trying to plug in the female side of a power cable to a wall outlet. And when it was missing, the prongs came to the logical assumption they had broken off and gotten stuck in the wall. I saw all of this in person while she was on the phone with her port tech support guy, probably confused on how this woman tore the prongs off of her power cable. She figured it out before I left, but it was a sight to see. My boss, the guy doing the pat testing, has broken my computer. Me, how has he broken it? My boss, it won't switch on. Me, that's the monitor. Switch it on at the computer. My boss, this is the computer. Me, no, that is the monitor. What is the black box on the floor? My boss, a printer. Me, what? We brought my grandpa a new computer monitor and set it up. My hubby and I live about 45 minutes away. We were barely home when my grandpa calls, all upset that the new monitor is broken. He keeps turning it on and off and sees nothing. So, we arranged to go back the next day. My grandpa called back a couple hours later to tell us we didn't have to come back. He had just realized the computer was off. It was pretty cute. My grandfather took 2 buses to work every day. Like in many cities, his city offers a transport pass. He doesn't want any cards, so he paid for each individual ticket in cash. My grandmother told him it would be cheaper to have a transport pass. Once at work, he nearly got fired because he refused to upgrade his computer from MS-DOS. This was in 2014. He eventually upgraded to Windows XP, which I think stopped being sold around that time. He does not have a smartphone or a tablet. He retired a couple of years ago. That sounds less tech illiterate and more just refusing to adapt to modern tech. I saw an elderly man open up Microsoft Word and take out a marker and start writing on the page on the screen. This was about 20 years ago, way before tablets and smart pens. There were pocket computers in the late 90s which allowed you to write with a stylus. We used to pull pranks on my grandmother all of the time, and she was a good sport about it. I taped a sign to the microwave saying, "Voice activated," then proceeded to watch her stick her coffee in there and say, "30 seconds please." I did that with a vending machine at work on April's Fool's Day. It worked extremely well, helped by the fact it was a contactless and touchscreen-enabled machine at a time when that was a relatively new thing. Half the office bought it. Late 90s woman legit through the CD-ROM tray that slid out was a cup holder. Around that same time period, there was this email forward I got a couple of times that was supposed to be an offer from Coca-Cola. If you click the button, you would get a free cup holder. So you click the button and it makes your CD tray come out. I admit I laughed the first time, when my parents upgraded their Mac maybe 5 or 8 years ago. It was the new kind where there's no tower. They did realize that, so they called to say, "Hey, you only sent the monitor, no tower." The kicker is that the Apple lady apologized and sent another computer. She didn't know there was no tower, so she sent along an entirely new computer. My parents eventually sent one back because they're too honest, just ridiculous that the rep for the company wouldn't know the absolute most basic thing about their new model. What it looks like. Someone who also insisted on printing anything and everything also covered up the second monitor with a piece of paper because they didn't need it. Everyone there had 2 monitors at their workstation and it was really damn necessary. This person insisted it was distracting and there was nothing they couldn't do without it. I've had executives that asked to take the second monitor away. To be fair, they were using early MacBook Airs so they would look cool, pulling them out at board meetings. I don't think they actually knew how to use their computers. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.